So I went to the doctor the other day, and I was like, "Hey, doc, I have ED," and he's like, "Man, that's fucked up. That sucks. But with enough diet and exercise, we can cure this." And I said, "Is there any advice on how to get my lady to diet and exercise?" He said, "Man, that's gonna be the hard part." I said, "Doc, all she wants to do is come home, eat chocolates, and watch TV." The other day, I told her, "Hey, life's like a box of chocolates. With the fat ones, it doesn't last as long." Oh, and she got mad, and kicked me out. So I fucking took off. I decided to go to Vegas. So I get on a plane, and I'm waiting there on the plane, sitting there, and this beautiful girl walks in. And guess what? She comes over and sits around right beside me. And I have to say something to her. So I say, "Hey, are you on here for business or pleasure?" And she's like, "Business, actually. I'm here for a national nympho convention." I'm like, "Oh, no shit. What do you do?" She's like, "I'm a speaker." I was like, "Oh, what kind of things do you speak about?" She said, "Life experiences." I said, "Do you have any examples?" She said, "Okay. Well, they say the black men are the most well endowed when actually it's the Native Americans. And they say the French make the best lovers when actually it's the Mexicans. And the rednecks have the most stamina." And then she got all embarrassed. And she's like, "I shouldn't be telling you this. I don't even know your name." And I'm like, "Hi, I'm Tonto Gonzalez. But you can call me Bubba." Hell yeah. So we've touched down, and she goes and does her thing, and I go out and gamble. Then we meet up later. And we start having drinks and hitting it off. And I look at her and I say, "Hey, you're like a school." And she's like a school? And I said, "Yeah, I want to shoot kids inside you." Must have took, because we went back to the hotel. And we get to doing our thing, and it didn't take her long to realize that wasn't my name. And halfway through, she's like, "Hey, you know this isn't free." And I'm like, "What? God damn it, not again. Fuck it, I'll pay for it." Then she ends up dying. And I get kind of bummed out till I realize the second hour was free. Well, I at that point, I was like, this sucks, but do you know what a pulse and an orgasm have in common? At that point, I didn't care if she had either one of those. Because you know what the loose skin around a vagina is? The rest of that prostitute. And I had to get rid of the body. I knew that. So you know what the difference between an onion and that prostitute was? I cried when I cut up the onion. And now I had to hide it. And you know what a prostitute and a treasure have in common? Takes a shovel and a map to find both of them. So I decided after I did that I have to go home, go back to my girl. And she called me while I was at the airport. She's like, "Alex, the vacuum's broken." I'm like, "What? How's it broke?" She's like, "It quit sucking." I said, "Frustrating, isn't it?" Well, I get back home, and I walk in, and I see her. And I go up and I pinch her ass. And I say, "Hey, if you firm this up, you can get rid of those controlled top pantyhose you've been wearing." And she didn't say anything. She just shook her head. We just went to bed. Well, in the morning, I roll over and I grab her breast. And I'm like, "Hey, if you firm this up, you can get rid of that push-up bra you've been fucking wearing." And she got mad and spun over and grabbed my fucking dick hard as shit. And she said, "If you firm this up, we can get rid of the pool boy, the milkman, and your brother." I was like, "What the fuck, my brother?" So I got mad, got into it with her, and I took off. I went out to the bar. And I walk into the bar, and I see this fat bitch dancing on a table. And I had to say something to her. So I walked up and said, "Hey, those are some great legs." And she said, "Really? You think so?" And I said, "Yeah. Any other table would have collapsed by now." Well, she didn't like that very much. So I walked off. And I went over to this beautiful girl. You know, she was Jewish, and she started talking to me. And then she asked for my number. And I said, "Oh man, that's real nice, but we use names nowadays." And she got upset. So I fucking go over there and I'm hanging out with my bros. And all of a sudden, this guy walks up to me. And he's like, "Hey, I'm 23 years old. How many 23-year-olds do you know that own their own house? I don't usually have people come over, but we can try it if you want. Take it how you want." I said, "What the fuck?" And all my buddies are like, "Yeah, that fucking happened." I'm like, "God damn it, I gotta go smoke a cigarette." So I go out back, and I'm smoking a cigarette, and this dude comes out, and he's all like, "You got a fag for me?" And I'm like, "Dude, you're gay. Leave me alone." He's like, "I'm not gay. I'm just a commercial fisherman." And I'm like, "Okay, were you addicted to semen when you got the job, or did the job make you addicted to semen?" And I had put out my cigarette, and I walked in. And I go up to the bartender, and I said, "Dude, that dude's fucking weird." And she's like, "Yeah, he's been coming in the last couple weeks. He is fucking weird." And I ordered another beer, and I'm sitting there. And this dude walks in through the front door and sits down right beside me. And he pulls out this little guy, about a foot tall. And this little guy has a piano. And on the piano, there's these flowers. And this little dude starts playing this piano, and he's playing Mozart, and it's fucking bad ass. And so I'm like, "Where the fuck did you get this fucking little dude?" And he's like, "Dude, there's a genie outside granting wishes." I said, "There's no fucking genie outside granting wishes." He said, "Yeah, there's a genie outside granting wishes." So I get up and I fucking go outside. Sure enough, there was a fucking genie outside granting wishes. And I fucking come back in a few minutes later with all these fucking ducks following me. And I walked up to the dude and I said, there is a genie outside granting wishes, but he didn't tell me he was deaf. I asked for $1 million and he gave me $1 million. And this dude said, do you think I'd ask for a 12-inch pianist? And I start laughing, and then I hear laughter behind me, and it's that fucking fisherman. And that fisherman looks at me, and he says, hey, you know what's better than those roses on that piano? I said, what the fuck, dude? And he said, my two lips on your organ. And I was like, fuck, dude, I had enough of this gay shit. I'm leaving. So I'm about to walk out the door. I fucking go, and I'm about to walk out the door, and I see this fucking girl. And I stop, and I say, hey, what's your name? And she said, Avi, with a V. I said, oh, okay. And she said, what's your name? I said, Alex, with an X. That means I'm single. You want to go back to my place? And she said, no. But we can go back to mine. I'm like, okay, let's go back to yours. So we get back to her place and we're fucking. And I wake up in the morning and I see this picture of this guy on her nightstand. And I shake her and I say, hey, who the fuck is this? Is this your husband? And she said, no, that's not my husband. I said, is it your boyfriend? She said, no, silly, that's not my boyfriend. I said, is it your brother? Your fucking uncle? Your dad? And she said, yo, you're so fucking cute when you're jealous. I said, well, who the fuck is it? She said, that's me before the surgery. Holy shit. That was a walk of shame, walking back home. Point is, don't ever get in a fight with your fucking girl. Or at least me. Because something weird happens every fucking time. Have a good day.